Now we are with the man who's almost orchestrating everything and who's kind of built it to what it is today. So thank you, Dr. Banerjee, for taking out time and speaking with us about BITSoM and the journey. And first of all, I would like to talk to you about how has it been for you specifically in the past 18 months or so, and what exactly is your role as a dean? I know people think dean is works on everything, etc., etc. But what has it been from your lens?
I think if you look at any academic institute, value is created at two places. Value is created at the interface between the faculty and the student.
Yeah.
And value is created at the interface between the staff member and the student. Your job is to create the enabling environment to help other people to add value. Therefore, the role of a dean is to serve. It is to serve the students in terms of creating a context for them. It is to serve the other people who are adding value. So per se, you are not the person who is adding the value, and if you can remember that and have that sense of service, I think that's one thing that helps. Personally, and this has been a philosophy now for over 7-8 years, it's something that people know. I'm a teaching dean, I teach full load. I teach as much as any faculty member. One of the things I personally believe in is that if the head of the institute is approachable to students, then it creates a larger context and a culture. So here, not only are our doors open and is our office open, but students know that they can come in and talk to you, and they can come in and talk to you about their interviews, about their market, about their coursework, and that environment, that enabling environment, I think is one of the things that we've created. The second is that, when you talked about my role in leading this, honestly, there have been a whole bunch of people who have got together to create this institution, right from Mr. Birla, our Chancellor, to the enabling environment provided by BITS Pilani and his alumni, to the global visiting faculty, each of whom, and every global faculty member who comes here is a proven rockstar faculty, a proven rockstar teacher, and they're kind of coming here. So all of these things have come together, but I think what we've done along with this is this element of, I don't know whether we've spoken about the personal development program and the mentoring. So increasingly what you see is that the modern day student is going to have 3 to 4 distinct careers over a lifetime. A lot of focus tends to be on the first job. Right? So one of the things you want to do is you want to enable students to be self-aware, understand their strengths and weaknesses, understand what to expect when they go to industry, and then to that extent personalize their learning journeys over their time on the campus. Now, how are we doing this? We have Dr. Leena Chatterjee, who is a legendary professor from the IMCAL system, and she is doing a personal development program with every student. And this they do psychometrics, they come with their strengths and weaknesses, and based on that conversation, she is not only able to talk to them about what roles are suitable, what job roles, but how do you get the best of your strengths and weaknesses? What are the strengths you want to build on? Now they take that analysis, and then we have 45 corporate mentors. And now there's one-on-one mentoring with corporate mentors that they're getting. Right. So what we've tried to create is an environment where every student can kind of find themselves. Okay, and I'm not saying all students should find themselves in 2 years, because you know how B schools work. There is a lot of peer pressure, there is a lot of fashion and compensation determining choices. But we are trying to create students who are self-aware, who are comfortable in their own skin. And if you can really do that, they will do well in life.
Interesting. And student mentioned about the WOW and the PDP. I think that those are the two things I'm really looking forward to and enjoying the most, apart from other things. Now, back to your role in the sense, it's been 18 months of fulfilling journey so far, right? Why did you choose to join BITSoM in the first place? Because you've been associated with this, largely established brand, SPJ and Insta, etc. So it is almost like a startup that you have joined. So what made you make that move in the first place?
So, I come from a background where I've always been a half and half guy. I've had one foot in academia, teaching across some of the better institutes in the world, and one foot in the corporate world, doing a lot of exec ed and consulting, and all of these things continue till today. So I had an experience with SPJMR where I saw what it was to take an established institute with some strengths, but with perhaps on some respects was not doing so well. It had begun to stagnate.
Yeah.
Plus there was a little bit of a leadership vacuum. You had one leader for 28 years, then you had a gap for 1 year. And I had to come in there and energize. And that's a template that I had figured out. You know, how do you understand the institution? How do you carry people with you, etc. But whenever you're improving an existing institute, you realize that there were certain things that were decided 30 years back, and you can only change them incrementally. For instance, crafting a modern and contemporary curriculum in an existing business school is a 5-year game.
Yeah.
Because you can know the curriculum you want, but to make that transition, I mean, there are kingdoms, there are people who teach established courses. I mean, for instance, you can go to your faculty and say, hey, you're in the classroom for 6.5 hours a day, and that's too much teaching.
Yeah.
We should be teaching less. Everybody will agree.
Yeah.
Okay, now you tell them, okay, so whose course shall we remove? And then suddenly there are no takers. So you know your change has to be incremental, because effectively you're changing the wheels on a running train.
Yeah.
And you're changing the wheels on a running train which was designed for a different track. It was designed for the industrial world. So, at least for me, the attraction of a startup school is what if you do it right from the beginning? What if you create a curriculum for the digital world? What if you create a curriculum for a world where, you know, nobody is joining a Unilever or a P&G or you know, a McKinsey saying, I want to retire as the head of that company.
Totally, yeah.
They are looking, so we need to prepare them differently. You know, the second is this whole thing of learning agility, adaptability, digital transformation. These are all words that people talk about. They're not reflected in the curriculum the way we've reflected it in the curriculum. So, I think the opportunity to do it fresh for today is one. The second is more emotional, which is that, you know, way back in 1996, I started teaching at Symbiosis, 96, 97. And I was just starting in consulting. And at that point in time, I had time. Now, because I had time, the kind of relationships I had with those students and the kind of impact I saw that time making. I mean, I still attend reunions of that batch.
Okay.
I have still tracked their careers. At their transitions, they come to me. So in the initial years, your ability to impact students personally is of a different level. And that's just satisfaction. It's just, you know, there are many anecdotes I can tell you, but you know that there are many incidences where students come to you when they're stressed.
Yes.
When they're in a difficult time. Sometimes you can only support them, sometimes you give them really hard feedback.
Yeah.
But when you give somebody really hard feedback and they go and turn it around the next day and they come back to you and say, hey, I got a job based on doing what you said. Those are rewards, and those are the kind of impact you can only make. You know, something like a PDP and a mentoring program, I would have always wanted to do something like this. I can't do it in an institute with 700 students.
Yeah, true.
In fact, our challenge is going to be not what we are doing now, but when we move from a batch size of 150 to 350, how do we scale some of what we are doing?
You mentioned about, you know, thinking from a larger career lens and not just short-term and placements. So placements are about to start for the school. So how much of that ethos and how are you kind of blending into the process and the kind of companies that are coming in terms of when you plan the placement process, and what do you see, you know, as a outcome of the placement process?
Unfortunately, when it comes to the placement process, then fairly predictable things take over.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is what you can plan for. I think what we can plan for is something different, which is that if you have conversations with people and they're a little bit more self-aware of what their interests are and what their strengths are, then, you know, what you don't want is a whole cohort of people saying we want to work for McKinsey, Bain and BCG.
Yes.
Because then you have to explain to people that, look, consulting is a particular kind of job.
Yeah.
It's for somebody who likes conceptual variety. It's for somebody who's willing to put in long hours and be on the road for so many days in a month. And there are alternative jobs and alternative paths. And if you just help people become secure enough to chart paths which are better for themselves, then you will find that the fit is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right? Because And I think that is what this achieves. It will not change the fact that people will look up to consulting jobs
Yes.
or product management or investment banking. I mean, those flavors adapt, but they are very, very compensation driven.
Yes.
But even to understand that, look, if you're somebody who is, for instance, if you want to do marketing, be clear that you should look forward to 2 to 3 years in sales.
Yes.
And what does that imply?
Yeah.
So giving people that kind of information, having those kind of, and some of it I think the mentors do very well. That, you know, when you've done your strengths and weaknesses, you have a job profile, and you talk to an industry guy who's been there for 25 years, he's going to give you reality.
Yeah.
And I think over a period, what you're getting is you're grounding the students a little bit more. They're going through processes where they're just that bit more comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
And that reflects, because when you're in an interview and says, tell me something about yourself and your strengths and weaknesses, most people are trying to manufacture a politically correct weakness in an interview. People can actually talk based on introspection.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you a small example of something we are doing. Last year, we did a course on learning agility. And at the end of that course, we did a little bit on habit change. And I spoke about habit change. And the assignment was students gave a plan for habit change. The students wrote back to me in the feedback saying that, you know, it's not enough to do a plan for habit change. You should actually do it. So this year we've changed the course. So the course is going to run for 3 months because they're giving me a habit change plan.
And implement
and I will work with it. Now think about a student who by the time they finish an MBA knows how to identify and change the habit. It takes most people 10 years post MBA to come anywhere near learning that, right?
True.
So you are able, and how are you able to do this? Because at the end of the day, if I want to change curriculum, there are 2 or 3 people who are involved in that change.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise there are 15 people and 2 committees. So that's the difference.
Interesting. And from a placement perspective, right, people will take decisions based on information and they'll know what consulting is like versus doing it just because my friend is, or it looks good on paper that I'm part of an MBB. So that definitely will be an outcome of the process the way you said it. So that's great. Now in terms of competition from other B schools, because you are vying for, I think, the similar quality of students and similar pool. How do you view competition, let's say from an IIM 1-year program or 2-year programs or an ISB or a Masters in Union? So what's your, plan or what's your view around it?
You know, I come from a school where they say the highest form of competition is competition with the self. The fact of the matter is that in India, if you look at the top 50 in the Financial Times, there are 5 schools in India, and I think that's now up to the Masters in Management. There's 7 or 8 schools in the top 100, right? We could have 15. So the country has more high potential students than we have good schools. This is a reality. The second is, without critiquing any of our schools, I believe many of our top schools are a little complacent.
Yes.
Right? So I think you can be a great school, A, by starting well, and B, by just improving faster than anybody else. As an example, our curriculum is current today.
Yeah.
If I don't talk to industry every year, 3 years from now, my curriculum is not going to be current.
Correct.
So that urgency on staying contemporary is one clear way you can differentiate. Okay. The second is admission. And I believe aptitude tests are important, but they are one element. One of the things we have learned, and this is a story I've told many times, but one of the world's greatest experts on innovation was a guy who had a 450 GMAT. There was some B school abroad who saw the potential beyond one aptitude test. This is not saying that aptitude test is not important, but we need to be looking at the whole human being. Again, without naming institutions, there are institutions where the interview is about asking you calculus problems.
Yes.
Right? Well, largely then, I'm interviewing you to see what you don't know.
Yeah.
We are interviewing you to see what you know. It is a 50-minute interview. And if you say you're a footballer, I will talk to you about what you learned in football.
Correct.
With the hypothesis being that if you excel in any dimension you are passionate about, and you can articulate what it takes to excel in that dimension, that is a better preparation for leadership and management than necessarily academic prowess.
Correct.
Look at your own experience of ISB,
Yeah.
or if I look at my experience on IMCAN, without stereotyping this, it's very rare that the best corporate leaders come from the top 5% of the class.
Totally.
It is the people somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
Right? They had better attitude to the softer things. They were that much more willing to learn. Because often being the academic top means you're good at doing what the system expects you to do.
Yes.
The real test of leadership is what you do when there is no system to tell you what to do. And you have to follow your own process and take decisions based on your own conviction and judgment.
Yeah.
And your ability to work with other people. So, I think the business school template has got stuck.
Yeah.
There is a room for genuine innovation. There is a room for fresh thinking. And thirdly, there is a room for real industry integration. What do I mean? I think the average business school has often gone to industry with what I will call a menu card.
Yeah.
And that menu card is, I want internship, I want placement, I want visiting faculty, tell me what you buy. Well, if you actually go and have an account approach where you're talking to industry saying, what are the challenges you're facing? What are the issues you're looking at which you're not getting time to address because you're focused on the next 1 or 2 years? That's where my research is going to come from. So how do you build that partnership? The second is, and that's going to be our challenge, that today, look, we are getting the best teaching in the world.
Yeah.
But we are getting the faculty from outside.
Yeah.
Slowly we will build up our own core and we will have to develop our own faculty to deliver at the best level as these faculty from Wharton and Kellogg that are coming. So that process, I think, is the next process. But the larger part of the vision is, I think, build a business school where you're researching about issues that business leaders actually care about.
Yeah.
Too much research that happens in academic institutions is done by the academics for the academics to be read by the academics. And that beyond the point is not the way you build great institutions.
You touched upon certain challenges that are there. What do you think is not going well, candidly, in terms of if you have to pick one?
When you say going well, you want to say everything can improve.
Yeah.
When you want to say everything can improve, the challenge that you face in a new school is simply this: that when we go and present BITSoM to corporates, right? The corporate is saying, okay, you're going to be a great school. Okay, we love your curriculum, we love your processes, everybody is happy. If I look at the confidence that BITSoM is going to be one of the next big things, even in corporate India, it's high.
Yeah.
Then the question is, we want you to partner and recruit our students. This is sure, but we have a 3-year process. Fortunately, we are at the scale where we only need 70 to 80 good companies to come and recruit our students.
Yes.
Right? As we scale up to 300 and 400, we will need to really accelerate our corporate partnerships even more. Having said that, today, look, today an AT Kearney, an Arthur D. Little, a Bain, a BCG, and now a McKinsey are partnered with BITSoM.
Yeah.
So tell me which 2-year-old school in the country has achieved that? I don't see that as a... And here, I think the fact that we are a new school but not a new school helps.
Yeah.
The fact that we are a part of BITS Pilani and there are 55,000 BITS Pilani alums, and so many of those alums are rooting for us, they are our mentors, they are on our admission committee, all of that has made a difference.
True, totally. So, if I talk about the vision now, as a closing remark, 5 years and 10 years down the line, what is that one thing that you'll be absolutely satisfied with, that yes, we have achieved this at 5 years and this is what I want to achieve at 10 years? Tangible.
We'll be eligible for Financial Times ranking after we get an ASCSB or an ECOS accreditation. So that is unlikely to happen before 2020, 2022, 4-year process, 26 or 27. We should enter the Financial Times top 100. In the year we are eligible, we should enter the Financial Times top 100. That would be one. The second would be largely that if you are a student who values learning and self-development and contemporary curriculum as much as you value the market outcomes, then we will become the preferred one. So for a student who's saying, yes, I want a good job, but I also want a great learning experience and I want to know myself better at the end of the program, we want to be the B school of choice. You know, I've always insisted on this. I don't think there is a best B school for everybody.
Yeah.
In that sense, rankings are misleading.
Yeah.
Different B schools have different pressures and different ethos. So there is a B school for you. If you are the reflective kind who says learning matters to me, curiosity matters to me, the ability to craft my own path matters to me, that would be one. The second dimension, and this is part of the BITS Pilani legacy, 6 years from now, we should have created 20 startups, 20 serious startups from our alumni base. It doesn't matter if they don't create the startup immediately, but even down the line, because what you discovered happens with MBAs is they want to do entrepreneurship. They want to finish their own and do the entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So it may happen 2 to 3 years down the line. We are doing stuff around it, because one of the things we have realized is that if you can get a VC or an angel, and if you have a serious startup idea, if they're willing to put in 1 crore, they can buy out your loan.
Yeah.
And the moment you buy out the loan, then a lot of the risk aversion kind of goes away. But you do want your students to be job creators ultimately. So if there's a certain proportion of entrepreneurs that you create, and BITS Pilani itself has got this ethos.
Yes.
And they benefit because our students, by the way, can go through the BITS Pilani incubation.
Okay.
So they have access to all of it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time and sharing your thoughts. I really like the fact that you're focusing a lot more on the input metrics, and the journey itself will take care of the destination and the ethos itself. So really love the approach, and it has been great, interacting with all the students. All the best for the journey ahead, and keep shining. Thank you.
All the best for your journey. I think you're doing great service to the community. So wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.